This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
Very good morning. You are watching News 9, English news as it should be. I'm Karthik Malhotra. Well, big developments coming in overnight. To begin with, Donald Trump is at it again. A 25% tariff on all auto and auto component imports into the US. Now, is this going to send Indian stock markets in a tizzy? We will discover as the markets open at 9:15 a.m. Remember, the Sensex was down more than 700 points yesterday. So we'll bring you all that action and more right here on Morning Brief at 9. This is Morning Brief at 9. First up, let's look at the headlines this Thursday morning. Donald Trump announces a 25% tariff on foreign-made cars as well as car parts. Says this will be permanent. Wall Street tumbles on tariff concerns. Sharp decline in US stocks. The Magnificent Seven lose their winning streak. India and US are holding very active and intense trade discussions, says External Affairs Minister S. JAISHANKAR. Will there be a resolution to offset the reciprocal tariffs? Meanwhile, US has cancelled 2,000 visa appointments in India made by what it calls bots. Financial firm Goldman Sachs says the worst is over for the Indian economy, but volatility in the Indian stock markets to stay. Even as it says, cyclical factors and not fundamental weakness led to India's economic slowdown. The Reserve Bank of India has issued a circular saying banks will stay open on March 31st, otherwise a scheduled holiday on account of Eid. But financial year closing and transactions pertaining to that will keep banks open in the country. In other global developments, the United Kingdom will become a defense industrial superpower, says Finance Minister Rachel Reeves, but trims other costs in her budget. Elon Musk's Tesla to drive into Saudi Arabia as the electric car maker sees slowing down in sales in Europe and the USA. Meanwhile, its rival Chinese EV maker BYD to double its overseas sales in 2025. Remember, announcement made just days after it surpassed Tesla with sales of over $100 billion. Let's begin with the top story. US President Donald Trump has announced plans to impose tariffs of up to 25% on automotive imports, escalating the global trade war he reigned after returning to White House. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump said all cars not made in the US would face the new tariffs, starting from the current 2.5% and rising all the way up to 25%. The move, set to take effect on April 2nd, is aimed at boosting revenue and reviving US manufacturing. Trump also plans to unveil reciprocal tariffs targeting countries contributing to the US trade deficit, with collections beginning on April 3rd. Listen in to what Donald Trump said.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. Go ahead.
Reciprocal tariffs next week. Will those be immediately effective April 2nd on all countries, or will you focus on the worst offenders?
No, we're going to make it all countries, and we're going to be very lenient. I think people are going to be very surprised. It'll be, in many cases, less than the tariff that they've been charging us for decades. So I think people are going to be very, very surprised.
Why is that?
I think they'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. I think we're trying to keep it somewhat conservative.
Well, even though Donald Trump says that he is going to be lenient, it seems that he also said that the permanent in nature. Will the Indian stock markets react to that or not, especially the auto stocks? That's something we will take a look at later in the show. But Wall Street closed sharply lower yesterday, mainly due to declines in Nvidia and Tesla. This after President Donald Trump announced plans for auto industry tariffs that could climb, like you heard, as high as 25%. General Motors saw a steep drop of over 3% by the close and extended losses to 5% in after hours trading. Meanwhile, Ford shares also slipping in extended trading. Take a look.
U.S. stocks ended sharply lower on Wednesday, with the Dow dropping 0.3%, the S&P 500 shedding more than 1%, and the Nasdaq plummeting 2%. President Donald Trump late Wednesday announced plans for auto industry tariffs that could climb as high as 25%, widening the global trade war he kicked off this year. Shares of General Motors, down more than 3% at the close, tumbled another 5% in extended trading, with Jeep owner Stellantis suffering similar losses. Ford shares also lost ground after hours. Meanwhile, lack of clarity over reciprocal tariffs, set to begin on April 2nd, is continuing to create overall market turmoil, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
Just the volatility, the uncertainty, are we going to have tariffs? Are we not going to have tariffs? Is taking its toll. Tariffs are, expected to be inflationary. Inflation, we don't want to see inflation going up. But I would also point out that over the last few years, when inflation was higher than it had been prior to that, the markets actually did okay. It didn't seem like it was inflation itself that was the problem. But I think more recently, it's the uncertainty about that inflation. You can't plan. You don't know what to do if you don't know what's going to happen.
Big tech took a big hit on Wednesday, with shares of Nvidia sliding almost 6% and Broadcom falling almost 5%. Shares of Tesla, which had enjoyed a recent rebound, dropped more than 5.5%. Other movers included Dollar Tree, up 3% after the discount retail chain said it was nearing a sale of its Family Dollar business to a consortium of private equity investors for about $1 billion. And shares of GameStop jumped more than 11.5% following its board's unanimous approval to incorporate Bitcoin as a Treasury Reserve asset.
India and the US are holding very active and intense discussions on trade. This as per External Affairs Minister S. JAISHANKAR, as the world waits with anxiety over US President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs that will kick in on April 2nd. Now, in an interactive session hosted by a leading think tank, Asia Society, JAISHANKAR declined to prejudge the immediate outcomes of trade negotiations, but said there is a strong business case for a bilateral trade agreement between India and the US. Now, following talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. last month, the two sides announced to negotiate the first tranche of the trade pact by October this year. Now, Brendan Lynch, the Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for South and Central Asia, is currently on a 5-day visit to India. It's not immediately known whether there are discussions on extending India some kind of waiver when the reciprocal tariffs come into effect early next week. Meanwhile, JAISHANKAR expressed his confidence in the negotiators to firm up an agreement. He also said Trump is more open and much more active in building security and defense partnerships, as well as forthcoming in sharing American technologies with India. JAISHANKAR said New Delhi is also looking to boost its energy ties with the US and making sure that there's a stable, reasonable and predictable energy market environment that is something crucial to India's long-term growth and development. Now remember, in Union Budget for this year, 2025-26, commencing 1st April next week, India had announced its decision to lower tariffs on certain US-made products. Now, these products included the US bourbon whiskey, in addition to wines, electric vehicle segments, and many other such concessions. The decisions were seen as an attempt to send a signal to the Trump administration that New Delhi is open to bringing down tariffs in specific sectors. Now, Washington is also pushing New Delhi to buy more American oil, gas, and military platforms to bring down the trade. that currently stands at around $45 billion in India's favor. The US was the largest trading partner of India, with overall bilateral trade in goods and services amounting to $190 billion for calendar year 2023. Meanwhile, for financial year 2023-24, the US was the third largest source of foreign direct investment into India, with inflows of $1 billion, accounting for almost a large chunk of the total FDI inflows into India. The US is also cracking down on what it calls bots that have been blocking visa interview appointments in India, making it difficult for genuine applicants to secure slots. Many have had no choice but to pay agents as much as 30 to 35,000 rupees per person to get an appointment in time for their planned travel to the US. The US Embassy in India announced that it has cancelled around 2,000 bot-made appointments and suspended the associated accounts, emphasizing a zero-tolerance policy for fraud. The use of bots has long troubled the system, artificially increasing wait times for B1 and B2 as well as student visas, while agents charge hefty fees for faster appointments. At one point, wait time for tourist visas had stretched to nearly 999 days, forcing Indian applicants to travel to US consulates in Frankfurt and Bangkok. The Indian government had raised concerns over long visa delays, prompting the US to take steps to improve processing times. With this latest crackdown, authorities hope the situation will further improve for applicants seeking fair access to US visa appointments. Global financial firm Goldman Sachs has said that the worst is likely over for the Indian economy. Now, in a recent report, it said that India had likely moved past its most challenging period of economic slowdown and earnings decline. Goldman Sachs, however, anticipates continued market fluctuations in the immediate future, and this citing substantial domestic investments in small and mid-cap stocks and global uncertainties, particularly regarding tariffs. Goldman Sachs retained its market weight position on India within the emerging markets back in a recent analysis, recommending investors to select shares with reliable earnings visibility and sustainable growth. Now, the analysis pointed out that the Nifty 50 index experienced a 10% decline from its peak in September 2024. The stock market correction was a result of diminished earnings growth influenced by unfavorable macroeconomic conditions and significant decreases in valuation multiples across sectors. The financial firm identified cyclical factors rather than fundamental weakness as the cause for the recent economic slowdown. Whilst the most severe phase of the slowdown now appears to be over, the report advises investors to remain vigilant regarding market volatility and external factors influencing India's economic prospects. The Reserve Bank of India has taken the decision to cancel the bank holiday originally set for Monday, March 31st. Now, this move comes as the central bank aims to ensure that banks across the country remain operational during this critical period for year-end financial transactions. The directive is a response to the need for smooth processing of financial closures, as March 31st marks the end of the financial year, which necessitates heightened banking activities such as finalizing accounts and financial statements. Now, as per the holiday schedule, banks in most states were to remain closed on March 31st, except for Himachal Pradesh and Mizoram in observance of Ramzan Eid. Stock markets will also be closed on the same day. But this unexpected change in the holiday schedule is aimed at mitigating any potential disruptions that might arise due to the crucial year-end closure processes. Financial institutions will now have to adjust their schedules to accommodate this change, ensuring that they can meet the demand of increased transaction volumes and customer needs. The RBI's decision underscores the importance of maintaining operational efficiency during a time that is traditionally associated with high banking activity and significant financial reconciliations. Most union territories and states, with the exception of Meghalaya, Chhattisgarh, Mizoram, West Bengal, Himachal Pradesh and Meghalaya, will observe bank closures on Tuesday, April the 1st for annual account closing as mandated by the Reserve Bank of India. Let's move to some of the global stories that we are tracking for you this morning. Britain is aiming to become a defense industrial superpower, with its finance minister Rachel Reeves announcing an additional $2.8 billion for the defense sector in her budget update. The move comes amid rising geopolitical tensions and calls from US President Donald Trump for Europe to take more responsibility for its security. Reeves said that 10% of the government's defense equipment budget will now go towards new technologies, with a focus on drones and artificial intelligence. The government is also allocating $516 million to fast-track defense innovations. This investment is part of a broader push by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who last month committed to increasing defense spending to 2.5% of the GDP by 2027, the biggest rise since the Cold War. Britain also aims to raise defense spending to 3% of its GDP in the next parliament. Time for a short break right here on Morning Brief at 9. But when we come back on the other side, Tesla is driving into Saudi Arabia. We tell you why. Meanwhile, its competitor BYD is looking at doubling down on global sales. These stories and more on the other side. You're watching News 9.
Brought to you by India's oral health partner Sensodyne, powered by Srinidhi University, kindle the light within. Special partner HP Lubricants, power to perform. It's the spirit of excellence. प्रभु जी मिठाई हो या नमकीन, बस मौका चाहिए जी. Tata Intra Gold Pickups success का मंत्र. State partner Uttarakhand Government.
2.5 lakh strong legacy and counting. Join the big league with the XUV 700 with celebratory offers up to rupees 75,000.
What does it take to be the greatest in the world? There is one thing which truly sets you apart. Your inner strength. Sodium DMT Rebar, true inner strength.
It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people. Matter is now more about faith of the millions of devotees than just political slugfest. Does that mean that I can't get a job in Chennai, although I may be best suited for that particular job? They have more civic sense, they have more of civility than all these men. My name is Sudha Sadanand. Welcome to the South Indian.
You are watching Morning Brief at 9 right here on News 9. Let's look at the global stories that we're tracking for you this Thursday morning. To begin with, Tesla is set to begin sales in Saudi Arabia next month, according to an announcement on its website. The move shows that CEO Elon Musk and Saudi Arabia have mended ties following a year-old dispute. The tension dates back to 2018, when Musk claimed in a tweet that he had funding secured to take Tesla private after discussions with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. The deal never took place, leading to legal and regulatory scrutiny. But looks like it is now a clear road ahead for Tesla to drive into Saudi Arabia. Take a look.
Tesla will start sales in Saudi Arabia next month. The electric car maker made the announcement on its website Wednesday. It signalled CEO Elon Musk and the kingdom have healed their fallout. The rift dated back to the billionaire's short-lived bid in 2018 to take the company private. The dispute started when Musk tweeted at the time he had funding secured to take Tesla private after meeting Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund. His tweet eventually led to a lawsuit from investors when a bid failed to appear. The suit saw tense text messages between Musk and PIF head Yasir Al-Rumayyan made public, but tensions have eased since the autumn when Musk took a high-profile role in US President Donald Trump's election campaign. Trump said this month he would likely make his first trip abroad to Saudi Arabia. Tesla said its launch event is due in Riyadh on April 10th. It comes as Tesla has seen EV sales fall in Europe, which has been blamed on Musk's support for far-right politicians. The brand has also been targeted by protesters in the US as he leads sweeping cuts to the federal government.
All right, and from Tesla, let's change gears to BYD. The Chinese electric vehicle giant is setting its sights on major expansion beyond its home market. The company is aiming to double its overseas sales to more than 800,000 cars in 2025. BYD's chairman revealed the ambitious target during an earnings call, saying plans to overcome trade barriers by assembling vehicles locally in key markets. Take a look.
China's BYD has big ambitions, according to their chairman this week. The electric vehicle giant aims to double its sales outside China to more than 800,000 cars this year. It will also try to overcome tariffs by assembling cars locally. Just over 417,000 units overseas last year. A transcript of his call showed Chairman Wang Chuanfu said the automaker expects to see a substantial rise in its market share in Britain. He argued the country is very open to competitive Chinese products. The company also sees great opportunities to grow rapidly in Latin America and Southeast Asian countries. Wang added BYD plans to keep its cost advantage through buying key components from China and assembling the vehicles in local markets. It comes with governments abroad weighing or levying taxes against Chinese-made cars. Wang told analysts he expected to see the majority of BYD's profits coming from overseas markets at a certain stage. He didn't specify the timing for that to be achieved.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is still in defensive mode after The Atlantic released screenshots showing he texted about a secret U.S. military operation in Yemen just 2 hours before it happened. The messages sent in a Signal group chat that mistakenly included a journalist detailed plans to target a Houthi militant leader. Despite concerns over operational security, Hegseth insists no classified information was shared, saying the messages contained only general updates. Take a look.
Nobody's texting war plans.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth continued to insist on Wednesday that no classified information was shared in a group chat on Signal that mistakenly included a journalist. This after screenshots of a chat released by The Atlantic showed Hegseth posted highly sensitive plans to kill a Houthi militant leader in Yemen 2 hours before the military operation was carried out. But Hegseth, en route to Guam, continued to dismiss concerns about sharing sensitive information on a commercial messaging app.
There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information. You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. My job, as it said atop of that, everybody's seen it now, team update, is to provide updates in real time. General updates in real time. Keep everybody informed. That's what I did.
On a visit to Jamaica, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was also part of the group chat, acknowledged to reporters that a mistake was made, but dismissed concerns about any impact on the military operation.
Obviously, someone made a mistake. Someone made a big mistake and added a journalist.
Is it classified, the information?
Well, the Pentagon says it was not. And not only did they say it was not, they make very clear that it didn't put in danger anyone's life or the mission.
Earlier, the country's top intelligence chiefs faced another grilling on Capitol Hill about the incident, this time from House Democrats, including Representative Jason Crow.
It is completely outrageous to me that administration officials come before us today with impunity, no acceptance of responsibility. Excuse after excuse after excuse. It is outrageous and it is a leadership failure, and that's why Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly transmitted classified, sensitive operational information via this chain, must resign immediately.
In the other chamber, Senator Roger Wicker a Republican who leads the Pentagon's Oversight Committee in the Senate, joined calls for an independent investigation into the matter and said the texts appeared so sensitive that, quote, I would have wanted it classified. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt downplayed the controversy.
I would characterize this messaging thread as a policy discussion, a sensitive policy discussion, surely, amongst high-level cabinet officials and senior staff.
The White House also played down the idea that Hegseth or others would lose their jobs, saying President Donald Trump still had confidence in them.
All right, well, before we come to a close to this bulletin, let's also look at the Indian markets. Remember, we had told you that the US auto tariffs could impact the Indian markets negatively this morning, and that's exactly the mood that we are seeing on the Lal Street this morning. While overall the Sensex and Nifty are up about 0.2 percentage point, and so is the case with the small cap and the mid cap space this morning. Not great news coming in from the auto space. Let's look at the Nifty 50 heat map and try and understand what is really happening right now in the market. Well, look at Tata Motors. Tata Motors is down more than 5%. Remember, when trading opened at 9.15, the stock was down more than 6%. It has recovered a little bit, but still among the biggest today at about 5.3% down, and that's the story pretty much of the entire auto pack. You also have Eicher Motors down about 1.2%, as well as Bajaj Auto down a little over a percentage point. Mahindra & Mahindra and Maruti Suzuki also reeling under some pressure this morning, potentially from the overall auto sector being hit this morning by tariffs from the US, as is what we are getting to understand at the moment. Overall, the banking story is looking fairly okay today. ICICI Bank is up about a percentage point, and the energy stocks are also in a good mood this Thursday morning. Remember, these stocks were under a lot of pressure through the week after the US had imposed restrictions on import of Venezuelan oil by any country and threatening tariffs on those countries. Some recovery there in the energy stocks this morning. But the biggest story, of course, happens to be the losers today, and that comes by way of Tata Motors. Let's look at the other big losers that we have in trade this morning. IRIS Re is down about 40%, and Kestrel Armed is down about 10%. And like we told you, there are other auto stocks which are also getting hit this morning. Motherson Sumi down more than 5.6%, and Tata Motors reeling down about 4.3% in trade this morning. Well, a lot of this coming on account of tariffs that the US is imposing on the auto sector. But we will leave you with that at the moment. That's all we have for you. News and updates will continue right here on News 9. But from all of us here on the team for Morning Brief at 9, thank you so much for watching. But do stay tuned to News 9.
News 9 Indian Tigers and Tigresses. The ultimate hunt for India's future football stars. A vision to make India a footballing powerhouse. The journey of young champions begins. The journey kicked off in Delhi with international football legends and young dreamers.
The winner is first born in the mind, and then you have to have an intent to win. Indians want to win.
8 scouting camps, 50,000 registrations, 10,000 selected, only 32 remain. A true search for India's best. From the heart of India's villages to the grand stage of Europe, their journey is nothing short of extraordinary. With REEVES and our partners in Austria, these young talents will train under the best European coaches, preparing for the global stage.
First of all, he scored a goal.
4 of these players will get the golden opportunity to visit VfB Stuttgart, our official partner, and train under Bundesliga standards. An honor like no other, the chance to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The journey of a lifetime begins March 30th. This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9. English news as it should be.
And in the latest development in the Rania Rao gold smuggling case, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, or DRI, has made a third arrest in the high-profile gold smuggling case linked to Kannada actress Rania Rao. The latest accused, Sahil Jain, a gold merchant from Ballari, was taken into custody and was in fact remanded to 4 days of DRI custody until March 29th. Now let's speak about Sahil Jain. Who is he? He runs a jewelry shop in Ballari with another branch in Bengaluru. He in fact has been accused of purchasing illegally smuggled gold ornaments and gold pieces from Rania Rao and her associates Tarun Raj. Investigators are saying that he would melt the smuggled gold and provide payments in return, allegedly taking 10 to 15% commission in the process. Now, let's speak about this arrest. This one has come in after the DRI had already apprehended Rania Rao, the prime accused in the case, on March 3rd for smuggling 14.2 kilograms of gold worth rupees 12.56 crore. Her close associate Tarun Raj was also arrested in connection with the case. Both are awaiting bail decisions today, with the Sessions Court set to pronounce its verdict shortly. The prosecution has argued in court that Rania Rao admitted of using Hawala channels for transactions. Investigations also suggest that she may have bypassed airport security checks by using the VIP exit, a facility allegedly arranged by her stepfather, Senior IPS officer Ramachandra Rao, who was later questioned and in fact placed on compulsory leave. During raids at Rania Rao's upscale Lavelle Road residence, the DRI recovered gold jewellery worth 2.06 crore and 2.67 crore rupees in cash as well. The agency had been monitoring her due to suspiciously frequent foreign trips that she made, including 27 visits, particularly to Dubai and the US in just 6 months. Let's move on. In a major crackdown on dissent, the BJP has expelled rebel MLA Basantgowda Patil Yatnal for 6 years over repeated indiscipline. The Central Disciplinary Committee said Yatnal had consistently defied the party line despite repeated warnings and assurances of good conduct. He now stands removed from all the party positions. Remember, Yatnal had been very openly targeting BJP State President B.Y. Vijayendra in past and also veteran leader B.S. Yadurappa, while allegedly forming his own faction and also holding separate meetings with them. The party had issued a show-cause notice earlier, also followed by a second one after his continued defiance. With no course correction coming in from Yatnal, the BJP had to take the stern step of expulsion against him. Let's speak about the reaction also that has come in from Yatnal. This one particularly, he has responded to his expulsion from the party. He has said, and let me quote the lines from this particular post that he has made on his social media profile. He has written that the party has rewarded me for calling a spade a spade. Certain vested interests have played their part in furthering their agenda successfully. The decision to suspend me will not deter my fight against corruption, family politics, development of North Karnataka and Hindutva. I will continue to serve people with the same vigor and tenacity. Reacting to the move, B.Y. Vijayendra has called the expulsion quote-unquote inevitable. Now let's also